Hello, my fish fam. We are here to go over the replay of me being completely undefeated with the next generation of Merfolk, and that is Silvergill-less Merfolk. That's right. You see what's missing here? No Silvergill adapt, baby. I went completely undefeated. 2-0, 2-0, 2-0, 2-0, 2-0. Spoiler alert. And we're going to show how effective this deck can be even without the Silvergill adapt in the deck. Which, as a lot of people know, and if you're part of my Patreon, you're in my Discord, the paywall Discord, you see the sideboard guide. I'm siding out Silvergill adapt constantly. I side it out versus very fast decks like Hammer Time. I side it out versus decks that have, like, deal 1 damage to the creatures, or very, Fury, Fire and Ice, Ren and 6 decks. They're all basically Silvergill Adapt is lunch to them. You don't want to spend 2 mana on your Silvergill Adapt past the turn they play Ren and 6 and eat up your Silvergill Adapt. That's terrible. That's a terrible play. You are so far behind. You are buried. You're basically lost. You're way better off playing Vidalian Hexcatcher at instant speed or Trickster at instant speed. Play your Lords. Play anything else except Silvergill Adapt. So anytime that you play the Silvergill Adapt, and both with Silvergill Adapt, super vulnerable if you have Silvergill Adapt and Hexmage on the battlefield. Deal 1 damage to the Hexmage, 1 damage to the Silvergill Adapt. You don't want to be on the back foot like that. So it's such a beating that I think we're just talking at the origin of the idea to remove Silvergill Adapt might have been from Lord Magicus. I think he's I know that this is like the poorest card in the deck. But Lord Magicus one day just asked, like, why don't we just remove it? Like, it's okay, we're siding this out versus every matchup. Isn't that a sign that probably we should gut it? And I have to admit, Silvergill Adapt is like a fine card in the main deck. Like, it's a fine game 1 card. You know, it's basically sort of playable versus everything. But on a scale of 1 to 10, I would give this thing like a 3 to 5. It's like mediocre to bad depending on what matchup you're in. Like, it's like the best matchup I think right now in the metagame, according to my notes, Blood Control. That's the best we got. It's a clean extra card. You don't lose too much on tempo. They don't have no way of taking advantage of Silvergill Adapt. I mean, they're going to play Leyline, Binding, or Solid. But that's the best matchup. And all the other matchups sucks. Sucks versus Creativity. Sucks versus Yawgmoth. Sucks versus Hammer Time. Sucks versus Scram. Scam. So it's just garbage. It's just trash. Okay, so if it's like not that good, game 1, let's just remove it. Okay, removing it. So what are we replacing it with? And in my opinion, we got to replace it with something that can be played. We got El Grande. Is like, why did you put in place of it Harbinger? Well, I made more room in the sideboard for Harbinger by taking my Spreading Seas and putting it into the main deck. So we got 4 Tide Shaper and 2 Spreading Seas, which is, I'll have to admit, Spreading Seas is a pretty high variance card. It's either going to be a 10 or it's going to be like a 0. It's like, or sorry, it's like a 1. It's really, really good when it's good. Or it's just outright garbage because it's just a 2-mana cantrip and you don't have time for that. You don't have time for that in Modern. But I will say, if we're taking out Silvergill Adapt, it needs to be something that's easy to cast. So I don't really want to replace it with Harbinger with this mana base. It's got to be something I can cast off of like Blue Mutavault or like Cavernous Souls Mutavault. You know, we got that Mutavault mana in here. So I opted to replace it with 2 Spreading Seas and 2 more Rishadan Dockhand. In fact, I'm gutting the Curse Catcher for the Dockhand. Let's make this whole deck invincible, or more or less resilient as possible to Fury, Ren, and 6, and the, and Fire and Ice. And Dockhand, as we're going to see, actually is quite playable. It's a decent creature to play on turn 1, and actually it can slow people down. And the more I play with the Rishadan Dockhand, the more it makes my opponent's plan clunky. And you know what? If there are those 1-land Vile hands are not so bad anymore, because you can play your Dockhand on turn 2, and then on their turn 3, their turn 4, you start tapping down their lands. You actually slow down the opponent by quite a bit. Damn you, Fury! My fury for Fury cannot be contained. Nikachu, you are so unbelievably late. I know. You're just going to have to deal with it. What other changes? I mean, that's about it. I put another Otawara in. I took out Oboro because I think Otawara is just better. You know what? If I get mana screwed without Oboro, so be it. So be it. Well, Otawara is just too interactive. All right, you ready to see some magic? All right, let's go check out these replays. Let's go. Well, I guess I could... But, like, what What am I not spoiling here? You know I'm completely undefeated. Okay, so it starts here. Look at game 1. It's a clean, completely undefeated. I don't drop a single game. Nothing. Nothing, not a zip. Now, the real question is, can I remember how these games get played? All right, we won the die roll. And by the way, now, I am so far like 13-2 with this deck, but in this league, I run up against the best matchups, the matchups that are super weak to spreading seas, and where Silver Gilded was terrible. So, yeah. So anyway, I start the game off with Ether Vial. Why would I play Mutavault turn 1? What am I playing around? That's right, Shamus. There are no sacred cows. I need a new wallpaper? No, that's the Apple wallpaper. I'm going to stick with it. So I start off with Mutavault turn 1, which might seem a bit dubious to some people, because if it, like, basically locks me out of playing blue spells by turn 2. And isn't it likely I'm going to be playing Tideshaper, Vidalian Hexcatcher? So, like, why commit myself to the Mutavault? And basically the reason is, what if my opponent plays Grief turn 1? Grief and Undying Evil, and then eats up my only 2 creatures, so I play the Mutavault. It's not that big of a risk to play Mutavault here. And if that ever happens, then, you know, I get to attack in for 2 damage. So my opponent starts off with the Marsh Flats, Sacrifice, gets the Plains. We're up against the... You know what time it is? It's hammer time. It is hammer time. Definitely a matchup where Silver Gilded sucks, and Spreading Seas is good because it can hit the Inkmoth Nexus, the Urza Saga, and also, this is actually a really good matchup for the Dockhand, because Dockhand makes Urza Saga super clunky. If they try to play an Urza Saga on turn 2 to start making constructs by turn 3, well, you just start tapping down the Urza Saga on their upkeep on turn 2, and then they cannot make a construct, so they lose 1 construct when there's a Dockhand out. So anyway, we're up against Urza Saga, and I can tell you with certainty, hold on to your Tideshaper when you're in the Hammer Time matchup. That is so important. Sandbag it for as long as possible, because you need to hit those Urza Sagas. They're too powerful. They're too important. It's actually really possible for these Hammer Time decks to have like a Sigarda's Aid and like a bunch of Dirtly creatures, but no way of getting a hammer in play. So they depend on Stoneforge Mystic. They depend on Urza Saga for their hammers. So sandbag this for as long as... I wouldn't... If my opponent just had Plains on the battlefield and I had no reason to, like, get Island Walk, I just wouldn't play Tideshaper. I'd hold on to it for as long as possible. You have to save for it. You have to save for it. Save it for... Or even for Inkmoth Nexus, it's fine to play on the Inkmoth Nexus. I have nothing against that. So my opponent plays Stoneforge Mystic. I don't have enough blue cards in my hand and no pressure on the battlefield to play Subtlety. If I had like a bunch of stuff on the battlefield already, or like, I don't know, if I had 2 more blue cards in my hand, I wouldn't mind pitching Subtlety to stall the Stoneforge Mystic and then follow it up with like Hexcatcher and then dump a Lord and make a big attack. Then when they replay Stoneforge Mystic, it's a bit late. But I don't have enough resources in my hand, and I'm pretty sure that I can deal with it. Deal with the Stoneforge Mystic. They get the Cauldron Complete, which is good for us, because I'm pretty sure we can very easily race that card. Or we have better interaction versus it. Especially with Sigarda's Aid, I'm surprised they didn't go for the hammer. Maybe they have no way to protect the creature, so this is just a safer route to attack me. But that's a way slower, less all-in way of winning. I guess they face too many, like they got the Inkmoth. They could try to one-shot me. And we got the Dismember. Perfect draw. So we can deal with this Stoneforge Mystic quite easily. And I don't remember what I do. Do I play the Tideshaper? I do play the Tideshaper. And I go for the Inkmoth. All right, we have a threat in play. Let's deal with the threat. Let's get it out of here. Because also, if they get Cauldron Complete, which we know about, it sometimes is also a sign that they already have a hammer, and they're just getting a backup plan, just in case the hammer plan doesn't work out. So, I mean, with that in mind, like, this is the only way I can lose, basically, at this right now, is they activate Inkmoth Nexus, slam the hammer, and I'm dead. They follow it up with another Inkmoth Nexus. How rude. Not nice at all. They get Steel Shaper's Gift. They're going for that. I think, yeah, they revealed the hammer. All right. So now it's not terrible. We do have a plan. Remember, the nice thing about trying to throw a hammer on Inkmoth is all you have to do is survive the attack. That's all you have to do, because at end of turn, it's going to lose the hammer. What do we got here? We have got the subtlety. So all we have to do is block the stupid thing. Just for it, like they attack with the Inkmoth. We block with subtlety. They play hammer to protect the Inkmoth. Subtlety dies. That's okay. Then at end of turn, the Colossus hammer falls off, and they have no way of getting it back on. So we do have that plan available to us. Keep the Ether Vial on 2. I attack with, I think, just the Tide Shaper. Okay, attack with apparently Hex Catcher. I guess the trade, I find that the trade is fine. If they go Inkmoth block, they have to play the hammer, and then the hammer is gone. So basically, I'm offering a trade. Hex Catcher for your hammer. It's also possible that if they block with Inkmoth Nexus... Oh, they cannot even play the hammer, actually. Sorry, they activate Inkmoth Nexus, they block. This Inkmoth Nexus has Summoning Sickness, and they can't play hammer. So they're just literally exchanging Inkmoth for Hex Catcher. So, not a good trade. Nexus says, ouch, hammer soon. As I pop in, can't get away from hammer wherever I go. Hammer is one of the decks to beat. So I play my land, and I hold my subtlety up. And there's the damn Urza Saga. That's why you hold up your Tide Shapers for as long as possible. But I had a threat to hit, so... whatever. Can't deal with everything. All right, we got a big army on the battlefield, though. We got the big army. So I have no intention of hitting any creature. I'd love to start attacking with my Mutavault, but to do that, I need to get the subtlety in place. So I believe I play the subtlety just to keep that blocker on the battlefield. Remember, I just want to block an Inkmoth Nexus and exhaust my opponent's hammer times. And I'm ready to get into the red zone to crash in for... because I can deal at least 9 damage here, but... oh! What do we have here? We have a Spreading Seas. And I think the best thing to do is don't give your opponent an inch. I don't have any Island Walk, so I can't really get through the constructs very well, and Inkmoth Nexus can make the constructs even bigger. So between, like, Urza Saga and Inkmoth Nexus... well, I mean, I guess if I don't hit Urza Saga, I'd hit the Inkmoth Nexus. It's possible that I will have to face, like, a bunch of artifacts. And they have Colossus Hammer. They could just throw it onto the battlefield to make their stuff bigger. So we're going to Spreading Seas... the Urza Saga. See what we draw. They float a mana. It's useless. I draw an Ether Vial. Completely useless. But now we get in for, I think, 6 damage. We go in for 6. They activate Inkmoth Nexus. I don't know what they're going to do with it. Do I attack with Hex? Why not attack with this? Oh, if I attack with this... I forgot. This is a problem. If I attack with the Tide Shaper and then block this, and then they play the hammer... then they free up the other Inkmoth, so I can't attack with Tide Shaper just yet. Just yet. Yeah, we have tools. We got the tools. We have even more tools if we're not playing with Silvergill Adept, which is a dead draw. Like, in matchups like this, everything that you do matters. Every turn. It can't be spent drawing cards. It's got to be spent putting good pressure on the battlefield, interacting with the opponent in a meaningful way. That's how you beat these super fast decks. I spent my turns dismembering, tide shaping, spreading, seizing. These are all interactive moments. All right, my opponent gets in there with the Inkmoth Nexus, and I say block. We block. This is a very ambitious attack, by the way. So they Blacksmith Skill, which will give it +2/+2, but that's just a trade with my subtlety. Oh, but it's not a trade. It gives the creature indestructible, but it leaves them tapped out to my 10 power. I don't think they realized I had 10 power on board, and they're at 10 life. I drew an Lord of Atlantis, but it doesn't matter. I have 10 power on the board. Very important. Don't put creatures in play unless you have to. I keep the Lord of Atlantis in my hand just in case. I don't know, some random removal spell comes at me, and we kill our opponent. All right, that was game 1. Beautiful game 1. Go to game 2. Don't complain about spoilers because we all know how this whole league ended. I have a land with 5 lands, a Dismemberment of Hexcatcher. Send it back. It's garbage. I have a beautiful hand, 2 vials, which one we can dump to the Mulligan, or sorry, the London Mulligan, and we have 2 lands and some interactions. A beautiful hand. It's a very, very good hand. I like it. opponent starts off with Inkmoth Nexus, Springleaf Drum, and a pass. All right, that's good. And the Scry bug occurs. We put the card we want on the bottom, and we still drew it. What the hell? Nexus says, I will say it feels better to lose to Hammer than it does to lose to Infect. In some ways, yes, because I know this can be a tough matchup, but Infect can be a good matchup depending on what we have in our board. So I hate losing when I know I have, like, a good chance. Alright, anyway. Let's play our Ether Vial. Pass the turn. They go Windswept Heath into a Plains. Throw out the Hushbringer! Hushbringer! What is going on here? Why would you even bring this in versus me? I mean, okay. There's Harbinger. I mean, maybe they got blown out by Harbinger of the Tides. It hits Subtlety, Harbinger of the Tides, Merfolk Trickster. In theory, Silvergill Adept, but we don't have that in our deck. Fortunately, most of our deck does not care about Hushbringer. Oh, by the way, I think the sideboarding... I took out 2 Subtleties and 2 Merfolk Tricksters. Oh, and I took out 2 Sveiloons. And I brought in... 2 Spreading Seas... and some other cards. I will say that I took out Sveiloon because it's like a card drawing engine. It's not that... I like to have some, but I don't love it that much in this matchup. But, you know, I think having some is okay. I took out the Trickster. I think Trickster is the next worst card after Silvergill Adept. I'm just not very impressed with this card. It's usually just a 2/2 creature. Like, it's fine. It's a 2/2 flash creature. It has some interaction with the format, like killing Dragon Rage Chandler. But overall, I don't really like the Trickster. It's just usually just a flash grizzly bear with very minimal, less interaction than I would like. How about Hammer Time with Infect? Yeah, Hammer Time with Infect is deadly. Okay, so there's actually less ETBs in this deck than the opponent would believe. I drew an island, which is nice because I can hold on to my Ottawara a little bit longer. So we're gonna play it and just pass the turn. We're gonna wait for developments. We're gonna see what our opponent does. They play the island. That's what I like about the blue-white deck. I like the blue-white Hammer Time deck because they give us islands. And they reveal the Pure Steel Paladin. And then they play Shadow Spear. I think I screw up here and I let this resolve. That's a mistake. I should have dismembered the Pure Steel so that they don't draw a card. Because I have to deal with this at some... I think I have to deal with this at some point. And I might as well do it right now. So this is probably my only error. And I accidentally gave them a trigger. So they get trigger. They draw a card. Oops. They attack with Hushbringer. Sure, whatever. And then I go play my Hexcatcher. Interestingly, they are holding up 1 mana. So I'm assuming that has to mean something like... What's it called? The hexproofing thing? Oh, but first I decide to attack. I play the Ottawara, so I give myself a chance to play Dismember. Just in case they, like, try to block. Well, actually, if they block, I'll just play 2 Lords and kill it. And then if they play the thing that gives +2/+2, Blacksmith Steel, then I can Dismember it. Alright, so I go for maximum damage. The Hexcatcher gets exiled. I'm like, sure, I'm all for that. This is great. I'll take a card here. And then they left the Pure Steel Paladin vulnerable to Dismember, and they're tapped out. So I think I Dismember here? No, I don't. I think that's a good spot to Dismember. I don't think I need to wait because there is the risk of Blacksmith Steel. I think I'm a little too greedy going after this Inkmoth Nexus. So this Inkmoth's gonna attack, the Hushbringer attacks. I'm just sitting patiently, apparently. And look, they put the Shadow Spear on the Pure Steel. You can't let this happen. What am I doing? Anyway, I put the Lord in play. Which means I can attack with both. I got another Dismember. What do I do here? I think I attack with both. They might block. Okay, let's see what I have. I don't remember this game. I do attack with both. Now, Hexcatcher has Island Walk, but this thing doesn't, but it's being pumped up by the Hexcatcher, so we'll see. And I'm willing to trade, even though I have nothing on the board, I'm willing to trade this Paladin for this Master of the Pearl Trident. Which I don't know why I would do that, but whatever. I did it. But I guess 2 Dismembers versus an Ink Moth is actually pretty powerful. I can amass a much larger board presence than my opponent can in a short period of time. Alright, here's the hammer. And now this is where I have to hammer down the Pure Steel Paladin. Because we can't let this hammer resolve. Okay, there was no defense. They just let it die. Hammer hits the battlefield. Ink Moth gets fired up. They equip the Shadow Spear. Again, go in for 2 Infect. And I have just a massive board here. I might as well be just killing it with 5 power. And I draw another Lord. You know, this is what the Merfolk decks do. I probably should have just played the Lord of Atlantis pre-combat because this was a 2-turn kill. I'm getting too arrogant here. What a dirty game. This is like not clean whatsoever. So our opponent plays Stoneforge Mystic to find Nettle Cyst, which is useless because I have like a million power here. Again, the Ink Moth comes back. They have 1 card left in hand, and they have to top deck like Blacksmith Steel or something. I go in for the attack for 10. Pass. They basically, oh yeah, okay. I realize if they play Nettle Cyst, activate Ink Moth Nexus, equip the Nettle Cyst to the Ink Moth, I can dismember it, and they have no defense. Or they have a poor defense, I should say. Oh no, wait a minute, I let them attack. That's right, I let them attack for 6. This is what, because that taps them out for 1 more mana, and then I can dismember here to turn it into a 1/1. And if they had Blacksmith Steel, then I could Hexcatcher, sacrifice, like, I don't know, one of these lords, and they're completely tapped out. And then I have still 5 power on the battlefield to kill them. Okay, that was the plan. Anyway, alright, so we won. We won game 1. Joe Brooks says, congrats on Vegas. It's great seeing fishies thrive. Finally got a list together in paper after a year and a half of eyeballing the deck. Congratulations. Welcome to the fish fam. Yeah, infect damage enabling easy dismembers. So I let everything resolve. I let them attack. I let them do everything. It still wasn't enough. And that game 1 goes to us. Or the match 1 goes to us. Time for match 2. You ready for match 2? Yeah, one of us. One of us. All right. You won the die roll. Whoops. I did win the die roll. So last match was a good show. It's not even a good showing. It's like, it was, the deck was better in the main deck without Silvergill Adept. We are better to have less Silvergill Adepts and more Spreading Seas in the main. All right, we've got a hand of some piddly garbage, but we have a Lord. So we've got the Dock Hand, we got the Mutavault, and we have the Hexcatcher. Let's see it put it to use. Our opponent asked me, it's like, is this the Nikachu? And I'm like, yeah, it is the Nikachu. So I start off with Mutavault again, into Ether Vial. Same situation as last time. If my opponent griefs me, at least I can attack with a Mutavault on turn 2. They go Urza's Tower! Tron, huh? Alright, well I'm so curious to see how well Dockhand can work versus Tron. It can slow them down so much. Like if they are expecting 7 mana with their Tron, well, you're gonna have to work your best with 4, because I will tap down the Urza's Tower. And they don't work very well at instant speed, in my opinion. Alright, they crack the Chromatic Star to go play Sylvan Scrying. If I'm not mistaken... Oh, yes. So one good thing about having so many 1-drops in my deck is that I can sacrifice them with a Vial on 1. So the Dockhand, you're not going to be used to tap down our opponent's mana. You're going to be used to get rid of their mana. So they cannot tutor for the Sylvan Scrying anymore. So I sack the Dockhand. So, and that's an advantage because I want to keep the Hexcatcher in this matchup. I want to counter future stuff like Sylvan Scrying. If they get Tron mana, I want to hit the Ugin. I want to hit Karn the Great Creator. So it's better that the Dockhand gets dumped than my Hexcatcher, and more 1-drops in the deck enables that. Silvergill and Trickster is the next cards to go away, taking the 8 cards in addition to Spreading Seas. What to put in their place? Well, when they print better cards, I'll get rid of it. We're getting some pretty good cards lately. You know, between Subtlety, Sphaloon, Tideshaper, Hexcatcher. I mean, we were just given a lot of goods over the last year. Alright, we got a Subtlety here. Or sorry, like a year and a half-ish. I fire up the Mutavault and I attack for 4. We're on our way. And I'm holding up the Trickster. We'll just flash it in. I do sort of have the option to play the Trickster at end of turn to eat up this expedition map. Or like... But anyway, I didn't think it was worth it. What I could do is play Trickster, sacrifice Trickster. They have to pay 1 so they can't activate expedition map. And then next turn, they would have to pay, like, this 2 and then go get their last Tron piece. And then they'd have 5 mana available. But I decide I'm going to crack in for 7 and just hold up Subtlety and eat them up. I'm going to let them have Tron mana. It's okay. Oh, but they decide to do something else here. They literally tap out for Sylvan Scrying. So I do take that opportunity to sack my Mutavault. Now I don't have to tap out constantly for my Subtlety. So we put in the Trickster. You know, it's possible that I could have let that resolve. It's possible. Is this a simp-friendly stream? Absolutely. Simple way. Alright, take up the Ether Vial because I plan to eventually... Like, especially on the turn that they're going to start playing Haymakers, like... Karn... it could be Karn Liberated, Karn the Great Creator, or Ugin, or, you know, like, Subtlety hits a lot of their big bombs, so I do want to get ready for Subtlety. Not on this turn, because I can't, because I don't have 4 lands anymore, but eventually on my next turn. Alright, so we play our Lord, we crack in for 6 damage, and my opponent shouldn't be able to do anything big. Like, they're going to have to spend at least 2 mana to crack the Expedition map, get the last Tron piece, and only have 5 mana available. So I don't expect them to do anything super crazy this very turn, but we do expect the craziness next turn. And they play Karn the Great Creator, and I'm pissed. I'm like, well, that sucks. Because if I want to counter this, they have 1 mana floating. I have to sacrifice 2 of my creatures, and I don't think Subtlety is going to be good enough. And I'm like one turn away from getting this online. But I decide to let it resolve because I have 9 power in play, and it's very likely that I can attack my opponent for 6, then attack the Karn the Great Creator with Lord of Atlantis to kill it, and then, like, they're going to get Ensnaring Bridge. That'll put their hand up to 5. Then they're going to draw a card for the turn. That's going to put their hand up to 6. And if they want, I can also sack a good chunk of my board, shrinking, like, I can sack a Lord, for example, to make my creatures small enough to get underneath the bridge. So I decide to let Karn the Great Creator resolve. But they get Engineered Explosives, which is really bizarre. And then they play Chromatic Star. This was such a funny line. This was such a weird game. If they played the Chromatic Star first, well, I guess they can't play it first, because then I could easily counter the Karn the Great Creator. So here's the deal. Like, this is going to blow up my board, right? So I got to deal with this Chromatic Star, because this is going to add the second blue, like the second color to blow up my board with Engineered Explosives. So I decide to counter one of my Merfolk to get rid of it. I never thought I would counter a Chromatic Star against Tron, but here we are. So I'm actually in now very, very good shape. The Engineer Explosives is useless. And maybe they recognize that they cannot empty their hand and that they were dead on board, so they couldn't get the Ensnaring Bridge. That's why they went for the Engineered Explosives plan. Alright, so we tick the Vial up to 4. Now our opponent's like super dead. I play the Lord. We're going to attack Karn the Great Creator for 3, our opponent for 4. They're going to go down to 6, and Subtlety should be able to deal with almost anything. Almost anything. Not everything, but basically anything. Like, even if they played... well, maybe not Ulamog. Ulamog can eat up these 2 Lords and leave me with a 1-1 here. And even if I Subtlety it, I can only deal 4 damage to them. But, like, basically anything. They go for a Wormcoil Engine. We Subtlety it. And we say, sayonara. Good games. So that was game 1. Going on to game 2. Of match 2. Is it a budget Merfolk deck? No. This is full power. Although, you can get pretty close to a really good, like, competitive Merfolk deck on a budget. I mean, if you're not buying Force Negation or Chalice of the Void, then, like, the deck is actually quite affordable. And Ether Vial is at, like, the cheapest it's ever been in a long time. Okay, anyway, again, Tron... a matchup where we don't want Silvergill Adept. Card draw doesn't matter. Just put Lords and you want to interact as much as possible. So the extra Spreading Seas, fantastic in this matchup. And also the Dockhands, I think, are actually going to be very good in this matchup. What did I side out? I'm pretty sure I did a very similar plan as last time. Siding out Trickster and Sveiloon. Because I think, like, I want, like, a bit of a balance of both. I don't mind Trickster in this matchup just as a Flash Lord. So that's not terrible. And I took out also all my Dismembers. I brought in 2 Spreading Seas, 4 Force of Negation, and Subtlety. Brought in Subtlety. Subtlety is good versus the Planeswalkers. Yeah, you can live without Cavernous Souls. I mean, it's way better to have Cavernous Souls, but you can live without it. If anyone wants to see budget Merfolk. I don't know. I guess maybe I could do a budget Merfolk deck sometime. Alright, I'm gonna do nothing. I don't really don't, especially since I know I need this interaction versus a Tron deck, I don't really feel like throwing out Tideshaper on turn 2 for just a 1/1 creature. I think it's worth way more as a Spreading Seas effect, so. And they get the Forest. So you know what that means, Fish Fam? They need the green mana. So what do? I'm pretty sure I actually hit the Power Plant, which might be a mistake. I go after the Power Plant anyway, and my opponent mulliganed quite far, which, you know, as they do. I guess that's really important to mention. I think they started off with mulligan of 4? Yeah, they mulligan to 4, which is not unheard of in Tron. But the last few cards in their deck must be Tron piece. Like, they must be cards to find Tron pieces. Well, whatever. Either way, I'm hitting a Tron piece, so they have to find another one of these Power Plants anyway. But I think it's defensible to hit the Forest, because they clearly need it to play other things like Sylvan Scrying. Alright, they get a tower. That's fine. So we can take a turn off by playing Sveiloon here, because they're not close to Tron. What the hell was that? Oh, okay. I guess I didn't play Sveiloon, just in case my okay, this is actually important. When a Tron player mulligans down to Oblivion, they're actually still super deadly because of Karn the Great Creator. So they could keep like just 3 random lands, Karn the Great Creator, play their land drops out, play Karn, go get bridge, slam bridge, and have no cards in hand. It actually benefits them in this situation when they've mulliganed. So I kept up the Hexcatcher specifically for Karn the Great Creator, just holding it up. I will play Hexcatcher at end of turn, and now that there's no Karn, we're going to deploy the Hexcatcher. And truth be told, I don't need Sveiloon in play, so this next turn I can play a Lord, crack for a bunch of damage, play Spreading Seas, and then I'm still in position to win the game next turn. So we go Spreading Seas, we go Lord of Atlantis, attack for 6. Opponent goes down to 12, and we do have lethal by next turn. They play Oblivion Stone, we say, okay, cool story, bro. Activate the Mutavault, attack with everything. Do I have just lethal here? 410? Yeah, that's just lethal. Lord Magicus says, Tron has to be one of our best matchups. It's not bad. You know, I don't want to count them out, but ever since Hexcatcher, now it's like, I think the advantage bar has moved in our favor big time. For as much interaction as we used to have, it sometimes just wasn't enough. You know, sometimes they just play, you know, go get into all their Tron lands. We can't interact with them meaningfully. Then they play Ulamog and they just smash us. Yeah, I think FPS, man, without Cavern or Force, you can play a pretty good budget list there. All right, so that was match 2. Let's move on to match 3. You guys love it. You love Merfolk just smashing the opponent. The 5-0 list. Alright, we've got... I lost the die roll. I have a hand that can play with Mutavaults, both in the form of Tideshaper and Vidalian Hexcatcher, so I keep it. Opponent goes Scalding Tarn into Steam Vents. Excellent. That means I can play my Tideshaper on turn 1 without shame. Ragavan! I let it resolve. Oh, now what do? I'm pretty sure I play the Rishton Dockhand just to threaten the block. And if they, I think it's better to have the Tide Shaper than to have the Dockhand, just because this is a little bit bigger, I think. But also this has Island Walk. I don't remember what I did. Let's see what I did. Okay, I played the Dockhand. We shall sacrifice the Dockhand to the Ragavan. And our opponent just throws a Ragavan at us. You know what that means, right? It means they have another Ragavan. All right. Show us your next Ragavan. Ragavan number 2. And they pass. And then, fortunately, I've got Dismember, so I don't F around. And we kill the Ragavan. You want to do it on your turn right now. Some people are like, well, why don't you pass the turn and let them dash, like to prevent them from dashing in, like the third Ragavan. But at that point, they'll have 2 mana up and they could play Counterspell. So if I like Dismember on their turn, like at their beginning of combat step, then they'll Counterspell and then you'll be big sad. Super big sad. What's the worst matchup for Merfolk? There is one right now. I don't remember what it is, though. Oh, man, I don't remember. There is a matchup. Oh, Goblins. I would say Goblins is pretty bad right now. That feels like a 5%er to me. Feels just damn near impossible. Elves is bad, but not terrible anymore. I think we have a lot of tools. It's bad matchup. It's a bad matchup. I'm not saying it's a good matchup. It's just it used to be really, really bad. Okay, Expressive Iteration on turn 2, which is... Oh yeah, we're not up against Murktide. Apparently we're up against Breach. We're up against one of the biggest decks to beat right now. The combo deck, playing with their Mox Ambers and such. So they actually can't afford to play Expressive Iteration on turn 2, hoping to find some 0 drops. So we gotta keep those legendary creatures fresh off the battlefield. Now, we don't have a lot of blue mana, but we still have a lot of things to do. We got the Hexcatcher, we have the Tide Shaper. So yeah, at the beginning of this match, it felt like they were Murktide, and now it's clear that they're the Breach deck. So attack for 2, play land pass. I don't want to show them I have Hexcatcher. I don't want to reveal that information. For all they know at the moment, I'm just mana screwed. For all they know. They saw I kept a hand with like a Mutavault, Island, and all these cards. Goblins because Pile Driver? Well, Goblins because they've got, like, it's not Pile Driver, actually. It's just, they've got a creature combo in Goblins that I can't beat. Alright, now I am big set. See, I played Tide Shaper at a time that I thought they was Murktide. If I knew this was the Breach matchup, I would have held this back the entire time, just waiting for this Urza Saga. Anyway, or maybe not, because I know I have a Spreading Season hand. No, I don't know what I would have done. Maybe I would have played Hex. Nah, I probably would have played Tide Shaper anyway, because I do have the Spreading... Or I don't know when I got this Spreading Seas. Well, either way, we're happy that we have Spreading Seas game 1. That would have been Silvergill Adept. That wouldn't have been very useful versus that Urza Saga. Alright, so we play a Hexcatcher. I do have a lot of stuff on the board. I've got like a ton of stuff on the board. We've got like at least 7 power. But I top deck a Tide Shaper, so now we don't have to waste our Spreading Seas. So I played the Tide Shaper, we blow up the Urza Saga, we attack for 4. We attack in Marfish Fam. It's crazy how many people are scared of this matchup, and I don't care about it at all. Okay, another Mox Amber to dump the other Mox Amber. Guess our opponent's just having fun. Nothing really to do. I play a Dockhand. I play a Dockhand pre-combat just so that I have something extra to sacrifice to Hexcatcher before I activate my Mutavaults. And they Lightning Bolt my Hexcatcher, and I decide to try to defend it by... I was trying to activate my Mutavault. I throw away my Dockhand. They pay for it. Then I'm going to activate my Mutavault. And then sacrifice it. So this thing got activated twice. And we protect the Hexcatcher. We attack for 6. No, sorry. We attack for 7. Something bugged out here. We were attacking for 7 because they have the island and they were pumped up by the Hexcatcher. And that's it. That's GG for them. GG game 1. Go on to game 2. Do you mind please explaining what your game plan is against elves? Just curious. Put lords on the battlefield And then if there's anything you kill with your Dismember, you have to kill their big mana producer, or the Lords. Like if they have any Lord, you kill that with Dismember. That's the most important thing. Don't kill any mana dorks with Dismember. It's a complete waste of time. Your best shot is, they only have like, I'm assuming they don't have Collected Company. They'll have like 1 to 2 payoff cards per game. And if you can deal with those payoff cards, they're just left with a bunch of random 1/1 creatures. So like you just try to play Lord a turn, Dismember the big thing, play a Lord, Subtlety, some other big thing, crash in for a bunch of damage. Alright, and I've got interaction, so we got a Force of Negation. I bring in all the Force of Negations. What do we do sideboarded? I bring in all the Force of Negations. I took out all the Tricksters, because this is just hands down the worst card now. And I think that's it. Okay, I brought in 4 Force Negation, remove 4 Trickster. Force Negation is specifically for 1 card and 1 card only, and that is Underworld Breach. In some situations, especially if your opponent is very low on cards, you could play the Force Negation on their expressive iteration, but generally speaking, I try to save the Force of Negation for the Underworld Breach. I got Ether Vial. It's awkward, though, because I'd rather not let this Ragavan smack me. But, oh! I surprised myself. This is a rare situation where I don't play Ether Vial. This is so dangerous. I totally forgot that I made this play. The threat of when a blue deck is threatening to hit you with Ragavan, I actually don't even know if it's worth it to play Ether Vial on turn 1. I want to force my opponent to have removal or trade the Ragavan with my Tide Shaper. They could very easily hit us, reveal Sveloon, and then just play Sveloon on turn 2, and then we're dead. And we have no way of coming back from that. Just not going to happen. What do they bring in versus us? I have actually no idea. I don't think any sweepers, because they can't kill their own creatures. They play with Emery and Ragavan. Alright. So the deal is sacrifice your Ragavan or force you to have removal for this Tide Shaper. And they don't have that much removal. And they decide to go on the route of sacrificing the Ragavan. Alright, fair trade. Let's do it. It usually means they have another one, which is fine because we have another creature to block it. There we go! I read you like a book, opponent. Uh-oh! Well, that's not good, because now they can bounce my creature and then still get to draw a card off of this thing. Or basically steal a card off the top of my library. But hallelujah, we draw the Dismember. I don't have to deal with any of this crap. I get to play my Ether Vial. So it all worked out after all. Yeah, Nikachu's so good, even Nikachu is surprised by his actions. I am. I don't always remember what I do. This was all played off stream, so sometimes I play cleaner Magic than I get to go deep sometimes off stream. Okay, Urza Saga. I have no way of interacting with this very well, but I do have Otawara, so I can at least eat up 1 Construct token. But I do need 2 more lands to do that. But we get the Sveloon! Right on time, Sveloon! I could use you right now. Perfect. Beautiful. Throw out the Sveloon, and then even if they have, say... Because right now they don't have Unholy Heat online. They have Artifact, Creature, and Land. Oh yeah, if I remember correctly, my opponent is going to burn the Sveloon, and I'm going to counter it by accident. I think they're going to Unholy Heat my Sveloon, and I'm going to counter it, just because I forget to count what the card types are in the graveyard. Anyway, okay, we're allowed to untap with our Sveloon. Beautiful. I get another Force Negation, so we can super protect our Sveloon. Attack! Get in there, Sveloon. Draw me... I don't even know what I'm hoping to draw. That's not what I'm hoping to draw. That's not what I want. I already have a Sveloon in play. I don't need another one. Oh, here's a rare moment where I'm willing to throw my Master of the Pearl Trident onto the battlefield for, like... I usually don't do this, but I've got so much protection in hand. And this is like technically a combo deck that I want the fastest route to kill my opponent. So going like putting my opponent down to 11 life might be relevant instead of putting them down to 12. Yeah, they make a construct. whippy. I can deal with it with Otawara if I have to. Okay, they get this. They end up getting this Haywire Might with their Urza Saga, which I don't understand. I don't know what the hell this thing is. When it dies, you gain 2 life. You can pay a green sacrifice that exile target non-creature artifact or non-creature enchantment. So they can take away my Ether Vial, which is a bit weird. Alright, so here they play Unholy Heat, and I'm stupid. So they got artifact, creature. Oh, they did have 4 types. They had the enchantment land. Oh, I missed that. Okay, I swear I did this just because I assumed that they had Delirium, but then afterwards I thought they didn't have Delirium, but now that I look at the game, they did have Delirium, so countering it was important. Even when I'm playing like a genius, I'm playing stupid. And then when I look at the replay, I find out I'm a genius anyway. But I'm being honest with you all. I could just say, oh yeah, I knew they had Delirium the entire time. No, I actually didn't. Okay, Lightning Bolt hits the Master of the Pearl Trident, and I think there's a chance I force a negate this. Yeah, I do, because this is just the clock is better here. I think I have a better clock this way, and I feel like I'm pretty close to sealing this game up. I get a Tide Shaper. I attack with both creatures, because if they double block, then I can Otawara. It costs 1 less because I have a legendary creature. So it's going to cost 3, and I can bounce the Construct and then kill the Emery if they want to double block my Master of the Pearl Trident. Now, if they do nothing, Mutavault was a great draw, because now I can play my Tide Shaper from my hand and threatening to kill my opponent next turn. And I Otawara the Emery back to their hand, and that's basically it. Force them to have, like, Underworld Breach and have an amazing turn or something. Shadow Spear is not going to get the job done. There's the Emery. Oh, Kyle Driver with us. Super chat. Thank you so much. Evening stream. Nikachu out here in the wild. Yeah, we're out here in the wild. And they conceded. All right, that was match 3. We beat the Breach deck. One of the best decks in the format right now. Thanks so much for the $2. Alright, so now we go on to match 4. The Power People. And again, that was another matchup where Silvergill Adept is not very important, not very good in the main deck. You'd rather have the extra Spreading Seas. You'd rather siphon their mana with the Dock Hand. Alright, we're up against the Saurus MTG. What I can say before even this game began is this player loves prison decks. This is a prison deck master. And I only could suspect that they were on Eldrazi, sorry, not Eldrazi, Prison Tron, because I think that was the most popular prison deck at the time. And they start the game off with a free mulligan, exiling their Serum Powder, and revealing all these Tron cards. So my suspicion was completely right. Alright, so we're up against Tron Prison. Oh, that's interesting. Our hand was actually totally keepable. It was like 2 Tricksters, a Svelune. I love that hand. But because we knew we were up against Tron, I'm like, that hand will not beat Tron. Ever. Never, 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 never. Way too slow. No interaction whatsoever. So I mulligan for a better hand, and this is a better hand. We have 2 Lords, and we have a Spreading Seas, and an Ether Vial, so... Hip hip hooray. Blacklands Geo. Nikachu, any chance you'll do Arena? Should the cards you're playing all get implemented there? Yes, but that's probably not going to happen for like 10 years. It's probably not going to happen for a very long time. Alright, turn 1 Expedition map. Sure. Turn 1 Ether Vial. Alright, Urza Saga. So, gonna be a little slow here. And actually I have a bit of a decision. Do I hit the Urza Saga or do I hit the Urza's Tower? Now, my decision actually is a lot easier now, because the Expedition map is not going to look for a land. It appears that our opponent is probably super far away from assembling Tron. So now I very easily am going to target this Spreading Seas towards this Urza Saga. Inscribed Tablets. There's a bunch of new cards in here I'd never heard of. 1 mana artifact, pay 1, tap, sacrifice Inscribed Tablet, reveal The top 5 cards of your library, put a land card from among them into your hand and the rest on the bottom of your library in a random order. If you didn't put a card in your hand this way, draw a card. It's like Ancient Stirrings, but for artifacts. You basically have to sink 2 mana into it, but it's very much Ancient Stirrings like. Spirit Squad says, the number of times I fought this person on Whir. Yeah, same thing with me. I've played against their Whir prison deck a million times as well. No, they put the Whir aside. Alright, so we have an easy turn here. Spreading Seas. Bye. And we draw a card. And we got ourselves a Sveiloon, not bad. And they sacrifice the Inscribed Tablet, and they find Power Plant. Alright, so they're 1 card away. I mean, they've got the map in play, so, next turn they're gonna have Tron. What are they gonna do with it? And I just get another Lord, so we have nothing to do. Except play like a Sveiloon, play a Lord, and then try to crack in for as much damage. So they'll go get the Urza's Mine, play the Urza's Mine. Urza assembled, or sorry, Tron assembled. And they play the Mystic Forge. 4 mana. Look at the top card of your library anytime. You may cast artifact spells and colorless spells from the top of your library. Tap it, pay 1 life, exile the top card of your library. We're not dead! That's good news. They're going to be dirtling around while we're attacking. I like it. Okay, they exile the top card of their library. They find an Invention Sphere. And then they throw out themselves a Spellskite, which is not particularly great. Inscribed Tablet. But, you know, things can go back. Hold on, what is this? Does it find artifacts? Put a land card? No, it's just land cards. So, but they need to find the goods. And they don't have the goods yet. Alright, we put a Lord in play. I don't take up my vial, leave it on 2. And we drew a Spreading Seas! In the main, these are 2 Spreading Seas in the main. This is game 1, remember. If we had Silvergill Adapt, we probably would be crushed here instead of the Spreading Seas. Because we never would have dealt with that Urza Saga. They'd have like a construct army out here. We'd have no island walk. They would have found like, I don't know what, off of their Urza Saga. We'd be so screwed. But because of the Spreading Seas, it's a completely different story. So we are going to Spreading Seas. Now they had 7 mana, now they have 3 mana. The power of having Spreading Seas in the main deck. And I should attack with both. Yeah, I do attack with both. And then I'm going to see what I draw first, and then play my Lord of... I'm going to play a creature. And we can follow it up with a Rishadan Dockhand, and so the situation gets worse and worse for our opponent. You can't spell Skite a Spreading Seas, I tell you what. I saw Merfolk is running Magus. That was like a troll. Well, yeah, this one person plays 1 Magus of the Moon in their deck. Nice to hit 2 Tron decks with the Seas switch. Yep. Yeah, I did mention, like, I did get the right matchups for this type of build. Hence why it was so easy. So they played their Inscribed Tablet. Not even sure what they're looking for. I guess the power plant, sorry, 1 more mine. They didn't find it and they scooped it up because we have like 1 billion power on board. And we go to game 2. Did I do anything differently for sideboarding here? I don't think so. I don't think so. Let's get our opening hand. Okay, hold on. View sideboard. I sided out 2 Sveiloon, again 2 Trickster, and all the Dismembers. I sided in 2 Subtlety, 4 Force and Negation. Like, Subtlety is great against Tron, because you hit the Planeswalkers. And there's no doubt in my mind that there's Karn the Great Creator in this deck. And what else? 2 Spreading Seas. Yeah. 2 Spreading Seas, 2 Subtlety, 4 Force Negation. Clean. Nice, clean sideboarding. Yeah, it's clearly making a difference already. Too many good non-basics lands running around. And again, Silvergill Adept is the type of card where you draw an extra card. It's a card advantage spell, but it's really bad on the clock. You set yourself back a full turn when you play cards like Silvergill Adept. You can't afford to do that versus Tron. Against Tron, I was always siding out Silvergill Adept versus Tron. Also, it's weak to Walking Ballista. All right, they start off with the map, but we don't mind because we got everything here. We got the Vial, we got the Spreading Seas. And I'm gonna exercise my Spreading Seas. The right to seize. And there's that Saga again. And I'm in the same situation as before, and I'd rather hit the Saga than hit the tower. Because otherwise, like, Saga is just gonna find another expedition map anyway, and maybe it slows them down a little bit, but I'd rather blow the land up on the battlefield. I'd rather they have one less land, period. And goodbye, Urza Saga. So they will look for a Tron land. And hopefully they just don't have Tron. I do get a Force Negation, so between Force Negation and 2 Subtleties, we have a lot of room to slow our opponent down by a lot. By a lot. Sadavan says, next you watch this video, watching this video, we will call it Nikachu Inception. The Nikachuception. Expedition map. Why did I let that resolve? That's insane. I think I accidentally just let that thing resolve. That was a mistake. I should counter that. Okay, so now we see a yeah, I remember at the time I could let this resolve, but I think I should have countered it. Then the second one comes out. Well, it's pointless countering that one. So I'd let that one resolve. And now I just have to counter the payoffs. We're just going to have to deploy our creatures as quickly as possible. I draw a Hexcatcher. Big game. What do? I think I just play a Lord, because that puts the most power on the battlefield. Putting these bigger, chunkier creatures out first is good. And also, I can flash in the Hexcatcher if I really need to. Another Urza Saga. So dirty. But I think I can win in time before the Saga gets too crazy. Ensnaring Bridge. Absolutely not. Fastest Force Negation of my life. I also had the option to Hexcatcher it away. That was also possible. We're gonna keep the Hexcatcher though. I put the Lord because this will put the most damage in play. So I'm pretty sure I pray for a blue card and I just play out the 2 Lords, attack for 10. Actually, do I need to attack for 10? Yeah, I do need to attack for 10. Because then I can comfortably sacrifice my creatures in play to the Hexcatcher gods and still have lethal by next turn. It's like I could sack, like, say the Hex at least. I can sack at least one of these guys and still have lethal. Okay, Urza Saga ticks up. They just naturally had Tron anyway, so they didn't even need the maps. And they go for a Karn the Great Creator. We subtlety it. And then that's it. Bada bing, bada bang, bada boom. Another great victory. Thanks to the Spreading Seas plan. Got those extra seas. A lot of people are going down on seas. I don't understand it. Why you people don't want to have 4 seas in your sideboard? Because when you need it versus Urza Saga decks, you really need it. And they have tons of lands you need to Spreading Seas. Like against Tron, they got versus many Tron decks, they got Urza Saga and the Tron lands. Like the Prison Tron deck, Eldrazi Tron. Against like Hammer Time, they've got Urza Saga, but they've got Inkmoth Nexus. Against like Urza Saga is not the only target, you know what I mean? Alright, well that was match 4. I'm super pumped. Undefeated so far in this event. I'm going with super confidence going into round 5. Last opponent is a big grinder. Who am I going to get for my 5th and final match? Put me to the test here. We've got Loud X. And I lose the die roll. Okay, that's okay. Can live with that. No lander. Mulligan it. And I keep. I got a 2-lander. Nice hand. If I am not mistaken, I think I dump the Spreading... Oh, I have 2 options. I could dump the Spreading Seas or the Dismember. I'm pretty sure I might dump the Dismember, and I go turn 1 Tide Shaper, turn 2 Lord, turn 3 Sphaloon, and then I have Spreading Seas available later. But I don't remember what I do. So all the cards in here are pretty good. Spreading Seas is powerful in a format with a lot of non-basics. You know what? I mean, it's good versus non-basics, but I don't really believe in it too much if my opponent has a lot of basic lands. Okay, so I dumped the Spreading Seas. Kept the Dismember. I probably was thinking if I'm up against a Ragavan deck on the draw, I guess it's because Dismember is the better card on the draw than Spreading Seas. Spreading Seas is like There's a lot more room to play it on the play just frivolously, but like on the draw, it's really clunky. It's going to be like a turn 4 play, and I might as well have... If my turn 1 play could be Dismember on the draw versus Ragavan, then my turn 2 play could be Tideshaper, my turn 3 play can be Svelune, and then my turn 4 play can be Lord of Atlantis. Utopia Sprawl in this economy? Who's playing Utopia Sprawl in red? What am I up against? Ponza? Alright, well. That's, you know what that is, right? That's food for the Tideshaper. I'm gonna eat you. And I can't wait. I just have to hope I don't get pillaged or something. My opponent kicks the game off with Magus of the Moon. All right, some sort of Ponza-ish deck based on the information that I have right now. So, yeah. Exactly, right. All right, so I dismember the stupid thing. Just making best use of my mana. Play Island, play Tideshaper, wreck their mana. Because the, turning Utopia Sprawl enchants forests, and if it's not a forest anymore, the enchantment falls off. So the ramp is gone. And they get to keep the island. So Tideshaper 2/2 now. Alright, they got another Utopia Sprawl. Okay, fair enough. They chose white. They got Stoneforge Mystic. What is going on? And so, what ends up happening is I asked my opponent, like, what is your record? And they said they're 1-0. So because I had an undefeated... This happens very often on Magic the Gathering Online. They don't necessarily pair you with someone with the same record. They can sometimes pair you with someone with a similar win rate. And I'm undefeated 100%. My opponent is undefeated 100%. So we ended up getting paired with each other. So and my opponent admits that their deck is complete jank. They went 3-2 in their last like 3 leagues. They're very proud of themselves though. So I have to defeat the jank deck. Might as well rename stream title to Spreading Seas and Tideshaper Showcase. Yeah, showcasing how good those cards are. Anyway, okay, I just play Lord. This is my turn 3. Why did I do this? Or maybe, I don't know why I did this. This is my turn 3. I could play Svelune. There's no reason I shouldn't play Svelune. Did I plan on winning, like, really quickly with... I think I should have just played Svelune. Unless I was trying to set up a turn... Okay, I will say this much. I don't think you should always automatically jam your Svelune. I think that's a mistake. Like, so if just because you have 3 mana, you can play Svelune, it doesn't always mean that you should. Svelune is a great card, but you can sometimes, or you can very often make it better by waiting until turn 4. Because if I wait until turn 4, I will definitely make the, she will definitely be indestructible. If I jammed her out on turn 3, she is not indestructible. But I have Mutavault, and I have 2 creatures in play. I'll have 2 creatures if I play Lord of Atlantis. So if I wait until turn 4 and play Svelune with Mutavault mana up, then it's way more likely I get to keep her around and she'll have indestructible. So that might have been why I stalled here, but I think the odds of her dying in this matchup were very low, especially after we're shown Stoneforge Mystic. Like, maybe our opponent has Fury, but I don't know. I don't know if it was worth it. Said Boomerang, you bounce, Merfolk Ponza. Okay, this is a big Utopia Sprawl. They're going all in here. Dashed Ragavan. And here comes the Batter Skull. I don't remember what I do. I might just take it, because, like, this one... They can't play anything off the top of my deck, and I really want to make Svelune indestructible. Oh yeah, I think this is what I did. I was preparing for Svelune. See, they can't play this, because they're basically tapped out. I think the only thing they could play is, like, a Tideshaper or Rishadan Dockhand. Dastic Bug 42 says, Yo Nikachu, this is the first stream of yours I've been to in a while. Thanks for joining us. Welcome back. Alright, the Ragavan goes back to hand anyway. Alright, we draw Subtlety. Best thing that we could possibly draw. We slam the Svelune. It's time to slam. Play the Otawara. Why am I not playing the Otawara? Why are we not playing the Otawara, Nikachu? You might need to activate that Mutavault. There we go. Should have done that pre-combat. No point in doing that. Or, I guess they can't kill the Svelune on their turn. Because if they played, say, I don't know, not Unholy Heat, but let's say they played... Oh, no, they can't play... Sorry, they couldn't... They only had one source of mana up, so if they tried to destroy anything, they cannot pay for the ward. But now we have the mana up. Pillage! They pillaged their own land to go out in style. Oh, no, sorry. They didn't go out in style. They pillaged their own land, so I didn't have Island Walk anymore to make their Germ Token an actual blocker. I'm like, okay, that's fair. I'll just attack with Svelun. Let's draw some cards. I draw an Otawara. It's not good for our opponent. They block with the Stoneforge Mystic. And I play a land and pass the turn. Oh, no, I don't. Okay, I'm going to play Master of the Pearl Tread and hold up Otawara. But holding up Subtlety is also defensible. Merfolk is doing amazing right now. I think Merfolk is doing better now than it has been, like, in the history of the game. Here comes Path to Exile. But do you have the mana to pay for the ward? They do, actually. But that's only one lord. So if they attack with everything, this is easy. Otawara bounces Germ. I can block with Tideshaper if I want. I do. And now I'm just so far ahead. I'm just so far. This is ridiculous. Okay, play the Lord, attack for, what, 7? Do I have lethal here? No, I don't. It's close, but not... Close, but no donut. I have, like, 12 damage here. I just hold up Subtlety, and there's, like, no way of them coming back, and they conceded. All right, one more game to go for the glory. Is the opponent on Ponza? My opponent is on Stoneforge. It's like Ponza Blade. They're on Ponza Blade. It's the best way I could put it. They were on Ponza Blade. All right, we have an amazing hand. Okay, check out this hand. This is hilarious. We have the Tideshaper for, like, first off, these Utopia Sprawl decks are usually a little clunky. Like, the mana, like, their curve starts at 3. So nailing down their lands with Dockhand is just gonna be soul crushing. Not to mention, like, the first Utopia Sprawl they play, we're gonna eat it up with Tideshaper. And then the second Utopias, if they ever play another one, well, we can keep tapping down the Utopia Sprawled land with Rishid and Dockhand. This is so gross. What would you attribute Merfolk's newfound success to, playing around Fury and Hexcatcher? I think it's a combination of that, but Hexcatcher is just a good card that actually helped the deck a lot. Oh, plays right into our hand. Plays right into our hand. Utopia Sprawl. But they're going to have one good turn, because I can't do anything on the draw here. So we start off with the Dockhand. These docks are mine. Another Utopia Sprawl! That's crazy. Okay, now I have a weird decision here. Because I would love to jam out the Tideshaper. But the problem is, what if they have Path to Exile? Because in response to the trigger, they can Path to Exile it in response, and then that would really suck because I'm tapped out. I could pass the turn and tap this whole thing down. That's a safe play. And that's the play I believe I go for. And I just play another Rishid and Dockhand. I just can't risk it getting blown out by... I just can't risk getting blown out by Path to Exile right now. It's disgusting. Alright, we tap. That was worth 3 mana. Look at the power there. Oh, the power. Oh, look at the heavy lifting. This guy works out for sure. Bro, spread those sprawls out. They should, you should know that you're playing a Seize. Well, they can't. It can only go on forests, and this is the only forest that they had in their hand. Alright, here comes the Boseiju. So they're, like, down to 2 mana, which is not where you want to be when you're playing these types of decks. Alright, so now I have room to, like, play Tideshaper. Because, like, if they Path to Exile this, then I still have the Dockhand plan. But they do nothing, and it goes boom! Alright, now they're really screwed. Now I can, like... I attack with just 1, and I think I siphon... I can't remember what I siphon. Maybe I siphon their planes. Take away their white mana. But I don't remember what I do. This is great, though. Yeah, I hit the plane. So now they have only access to a single green. And it's a legendary land. So if they play another Boseiju, they have to lose the last one. Well, there's the Wooded Foothills. They keep playing lands, which is not to our advantage. Ren in 6, but guess what? Guess what we did, everyone? We built our deck so that there are no 1 toughness creatures anymore. So this Ren in 6 has no power here. On the other hand, it will get one of those lands back. Fury, well, god damn it. At least Fury doesn't 3-for-1 us. It's just a 2-for-2 because it had to eat up. Whoops, we gotta slow down. Slow down, Magic the Gathering Online. All right, so Fury ate up 2 creatures, but at least it wasn't a 3-for-1, which could possibly happen if we have like Curse Catchers and Silvergill Adepts out. Yeah, Ren and Fury. And despite all those things, we're doing fine. We could have gotten crushed if they were able to play like a Fury on turn 3. Just have the Fury on board. All right, so I go to my beginning of combat step. I activate the Mutavault. And I just want to say my general rule is, if you can kill Renin 6 in one shot, and you're pretty confident you can do that, kill Renin 6. If you cannot kill Renin 6 in one shot, ignore it and just attack the opponent. This is my general rule right now. I find that, like, if you can't kill Renin 6 in one shot, then that means you need to spend another attack step on it. And you might find that you attack the Renin 6 so much that you would have killed your opponent by then, if you had just been attacking them the entire time. So that is my general principle versus Renin 6 at the moment. So I do believe I go after the Renin 6 because I can kill it in one shot, and my opponent can't interact with me. But otherwise, if the loyalty was too high, I would just jam at the opponent and just ignore Renin 6. Hope that helps someone somewhere. Kalathis! It's the wrong time for this. Alright, so I just deploy Lords and try to win as quickly as possible. There's no point slowing the opponent down. Like, even if they play Fury, it can only kill 1 Lord right now, so let's attack for 10. Per opponent down to 6. They'll gain 2 life if they want to with Kalathis, because they exile something from the graveyard. They play a Ragavan, and I know the game is over. I mean, I can just play 1 Lord, activate Mutavault, and it is over. And we scoop it up. The extra Spreading Seas and no Silvergill Adepts win again. Although I have to say, this is not a terrible Silvergill Adept matchup, because sometimes you're... Well, actually, maybe it is. It is now. Now, thanks to Renin 6 and Fury. Yeah, you don't want Ren. You don't want it in this matchup either. You don't want it there either. All right. And that's the 5-0. You love that? Do you want to see this deck in action live? Do you want to see this deck in action live? Daniel says, if you kick the Tideshaper to hit a Utopia Sprawl, but the opponent paths Tideshaper, then the Seize effect doesn't happen? Correct. Because it's only a Seize. If we look at Tideshaper, let's read it. Enters the battlefield. If it was kicked, target land becomes an island for as long as Tideshaper remains on the battlefield. And if Tideshaper is just not on the battlefield when it resolves, then it just doesn't become an island at all. Never happened. Anyway, that's the beautiful 5-0. So, I think... Given the fact that there was a... Like, we've got this top 8 here. Did I show the top 8? Did I show this? So this was a top 8 by... Hold on. This gameplay? Here we go. This was a top 8 by Ju Hun, who made top 4 with a version of Merfolk that shaved 2 Silvergill Adepts for 2 more Spreading Seas in the main deck. Made top 4. This player is just killing it with Merfolk right now, just killing it. So, and also admitted on Twitter that the Spreading Season ended up being better than Silvergill Adept. And I think we should, this is the direction we have to move the deck. This is where we're going. So far, the results look good. And I think so long as Fury and Renin 6 are going to be a very big part of the modern metagame, I don't think we need this card so much. It's not what it used to be. We have better things to do. And Dockhand didn't look too bad. Dockhand did pretty good, don't you think? This card actually, maybe it was underrated the entire time. It was better than I first gave, the first impression I gave it. Yeah, it's actually, it's not bad. It's not bad. All right, with that, don't forget to like, share, comment, and subscribe and all that good stuff, and I'll see you guys in the next video.